It is March 2020. The S&P drops 34% in 23 trading days. A man in a brokerage office watches his life savings evaporate on a screen. He does not move. He does not call his broker. He does not check the news. He picks up a small leather notebook, opens to a passage he has underlined twice, and reads it aloud. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Then he closes the notebook, makes tea, and goes for a walk. That is not denial. It is not bravado. It is a 2,000-year-old technology, the technology of Stoicism, being used exactly as Epictetus designed it. And the strangest thing about this technology is not that it makes losses hurt less. It is that when you understand it properly, you stop calling them losses at all. This is what the Stoics actually do when the market crashes. Not the meme version, the real version. The school is called Stoicism because of where it began. Around 300 BCE, a merchant named Zeno of Citium lost his entire cargo in a shipwreck off the coast of Athens. He drifted into the city, walked into a bookshop, read a chapter of Xenophon's Memorabilia, and asked the bookseller where he could find a man like Socrates. The bookseller pointed at a passing philosopher. Zeno followed him out the door and never went back to commerce. The school he founded took its name from the Stoi Poikile, the Painted Porch in the Athenian Agora where he taught. The first Stoic was, literally, a man who had lost everything in a market. Three figures matter most for what we are about to discuss. First, Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, who wrote his meditations in army camps along the Danube while plague and barbarian incursion threatened the empire. He never wrote it for publication. The original title in Greek is ta eis heauton, to himself. We are reading a private journal. Second, Epictetus, born a slave, lame from a broken leg his master never set, freed in adulthood and exiled to Nicopolis in western Greece. He taught for 40 years and wrote nothing. What we have, the discourses and the Enchiridion, are his student Arrian's notes. The Enchiridion is 48 short chapters. You can read it in an hour. People have based whole lives on it. Third, Seneca, statesman, playwright, tutor to the young Nero, perhaps the richest philosopher in human history, who wrote 124 surviving letters to a friend named Lucilius about how to live, and was eventually ordered by Nero to kill himself, which he did calmly, dictating to his scribes as he bled. These three are not theorists. Marcus governed an empire. Epictetus was beaten. Seneca was killed. The doctrines we will discuss were tested against war, slavery, exile, and death. Compared to those, a market crash is a small thing, and that is exactly the point. The literal text begins with Epictetus, Enchiridion, chapter 1. The first sentence in Greek, ton ontun ta menestin erf hemen, ta deuk erf hemen. Of things that exist, some are up to us and some are not up to us. This single sentence is the foundation of the entire Stoic response to loss. What follows in the Greek is a list. Up to us, judgment, impulse, desire, aversion. In short, our own mental acts. Not up to us, the body, possessions, reputation, office, and in a word, all that is not our own work. Property, reputation, the body, the market. Epictetus's next move is more radical than people remember. He does not say try not to worry about externals. He says in the second chapter, you must give up these things entirely, wholly. The Greek verb is aphianai, to release, to let go. Not manage your feelings about them. Release them as belongings. Marcus Aurelius repeats this constantly. Book 2, paragraph 11. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Book 4, paragraph 3. Things do not touch the soul. They stand still outside it. Disturbance comes only from the judgment within. The Greek word he uses for that judgment is phantasia, the impression an event makes on the mind. The Stoic claim is that what hurts you in a market crash is never the crash itself. It is the phantasia, the impression, the story, the assumed meaning, that you let stand without examining. Seneca, in letter 91, watches his friend Liberalis grieve the destruction of the city of Lyon by fire in a single night. The entire wealth of a Roman colony gone. Seneca writes back, "Nihil privatum est." Nothing belongs to us privately. Whatever can be lost was never yours. Whatever can be sent away from you was on loan from fortune. The market does not take your wealth in a crash. It only collects what was always borrowed. This is where we move from text to doctrine. The school developed 4 teachings about externals that you cannot understand a Stoic response to market crashes without. The first is what later commentators call the dichotomy of control, though Epictetus himself never calls it that. He calls it the discipline of assent, sunkatathesis. Every external event arrives as an impression, and the impression has 2 parts. The bare fact, the market dropped 30%, and the implicit judgment, this is a disaster. The bare fact is not up to you. The judgment is entirely up to you. You can assent to it, modify it, or withhold assent entirely. The Stoic technique is to refuse the second half of the impression until you have examined it. Epictetus, Discourses, Book 2, Chapter 18. When you have an impression, say to it, "Wait for me a little. Let me see what you are and what you concern. Let me test you." The impression is not your enemy. It is a witness whose testimony you have not yet cross-examined. This is the first reason Stoics do not panic. They have not yet agreed to the proposition that anything bad has happened. The second doctrine is Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca develops it most fully in letter 91 and again in letter 24. Every morning before the day begins, you mentally walk through the things that could go wrong, not catastrophizing, not anxious rumination. A calm, deliberate inventory. My body is mortal. My property is borrowed. My reputation depends on the opinions of strangers. The market can fall. The city can burn. The people I love can die. None of this is news. You hold each item in attention until it stops surprising you. The point is not pessimism. The point is to deprive the future of its element of surprise. Seneca writes, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." The crash you have rehearsed is not the same crash, psychologically, as the crash that ambushes you. The third doctrine is what Marcus calls the catacousa epibole, the appropriate attention. He gives the instruction in Book 7, paragraph 47. Survey the courses of the stars as though you ran with them, and meditate constantly on the changes of the elements into one another. You broaden your view until you can see your individual fortune as one item in a much larger pattern. This is often called the view from above. Marcus uses it constantly. Book 7, paragraph 48. Look down on the world from above. The herds, the armies, the farms, the marriages, the divorces, the births, the deaths, the noisy law courts, the deserts, the foreign peoples, the festivals, the funerals. All of it, from altitude. When something feels overwhelming, mentally rise. See your city from above. See your country. See the planet. See your lifetime as a thin slice on the timeline of civilizations. See civilizations themselves as brief noises in the life of the cosmos. The market crash that consumes the news today will, in 50 years, be a paragraph in a textbook. In 200 years, a footnote. In 2,000 years, not even that. This is not nihilism. This is proportion. The fourth doctrine, and the one most often missed, is Oikeiōsis. The word means something like appropriation or making one's own. The Stoics taught that we begin life naturally attached to externals, our body, our property, our family, and that the work of philosophy is to gradually relocate the center of value from these things to our own reason and virtue. Not to become cold, not to stop loving the people in your life, but to reclassify them, to file them under cared for, but not owned. Hierocles, a Stoic of the 2nd century, drew concentric circles: self, family, neighbors, city, humanity, and said the goal of moral progress is to draw the outer circles inward, to extend care while simultaneously holding all of them, including the self, with an open hand. When the market crashes, the non-Stoic feels it as the loss of part of the self, because money has been filed under self. The Stoic feels it differently, because money has been filed under cared for, but not owned. The feeling is real, but it is the feeling of a borrowing being recalled, not the feeling of dismemberment. So what does this look like in practice for a person living now in a market that is dropping today on a Tuesday with bills due Friday? The Stoic practice has 4 concrete movements. The tradition calls them the morning, the moment, the evening, and the roll. The morning. Before checking any device, sit for 5 minutes and walk through the day mentally. Not optimistically, not catastrophically, but accurately. What is up to me today? My attention, my responses, the quality of my work. What is not up to me today? The market, other people's opinions, the price of anything. Then run the Premeditatio. Imagine the worst plausible thing that could happen today, look at it directly, and ask whether your life would still be a life worth living after it. The answer is almost always yes. That answer is what you walk into the day with. The moment. When the impression arrives, the news alert, the red chart, the call from the broker, the line in the email. The Stoic technique is to stop before assenting. Epictetus's exact phrase, Discourses 2:18, "You are an impression and not at all the thing you claim to be." Say it under your breath, not as denial, as cross-examination. The market dropped. That is a fact. That this is a disaster, that is an interpretation. Wait, examine, withhold assent until you have looked. The evening, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both practiced an evening review. Seneca, in Of Anger, Book 3. Chapter 36 describes his own. I make use of this privilege, daily pleading my case before myself. When the light is taken away,